Hello everyone, welcome to Motown Monday. Welcome to Motown Monday, where each week I'll be breaking down the individual elements of a different Motown song. This week is all about the song Papa Was a Rolling Stone, as made famous by the Temptations. The song was written and produced by prolific songwriters Barrett Strong and Norman Whitfield in 1972. And that year, two versions of the song were recorded. The first by The Undisputed Truth on the 9th of May, and the second by the Temptations on the 28th of September. The Temptations recording went to number 1 on the American pop charts and number 5 on the American R&B charts. And as it is the more successful version of the two, it's the one I will choose to discuss. It's a rather long recording, with the original mix coming in at around about 12 minutes. And it has long instrumental sections that bookend each verse and chorus. It also has a sparse arrangement, with your basic rhythm section made up of drums, bass, guitar, and a little bit of piano. And it's filled out by some subtle strings, a solo trumpet, and of course the vocals. So the very first note we hear as the song begins is from that incredibly funky bass line. And it picks up on the last offbeat from the previous bar onto our tonic. Now, according to the internet, it was probably played by Bob Babbitt, who was one of the members of Motown's house band, the Funk Brothers. And now there are two main features of that bass line that I think make it a quintessential Motown bass line and also just a masterful example of bass playing. Firstly, it outlines all the important guide tones of the only chord in this song, which is a B-flat minor 7. Now the B-flat minor 7 has the notes B-flat, our tonic. It has D-flat, which is our minor third. The note F, which isn't really important, it's not considered a guide tone. And then, finally, the A-flat, which is our flat 7, turning that into a minor 7 chord. Now, the bass line begins, like I said, with a pickup on the flat 7, which is A-flat, into the tonic. And then, we go to the minor third, and then finally back to the flat 7, and that takes us back into the tonic. I'll play that again, so it goes like this. So another thing you'll notice about that bass line is that there is a lot of space between some of those individual little phrases there. And that is one of the funkiest things you can do on the bass, is leave that space for those other instruments to breathe, and also it allows the bass part to breathe. Gives it a bit more impact. Now in terms of tone, this isn't quite the right bass for it, but back then they probably would have been playing some sort of a Fender precision bass, strung with flat wound strings, which was quite common for a lot of Motown players and just in general players of that time. And it would have been plugged directly into the console and perhaps through some sort of a DI box, as was common practice for the Motown recording engineers of the time. So as you can hear, the drums enter with the bass on the downbeat, and they're quite sparse, just a hi-hat ticking away on the eighth notes. However, as the song progresses, the addition of claps on the offbeats, this is a very gospel thing, as well as a kick drum, interestingly on 2 and 4 though, really fills out the groove. Now that'll tend to come and go throughout the song, those additional elements. Sometimes the claps will disappear for a while as the instrumentation drops back down in dynamic a little bit and fills out with some strings and other things like that. However, then those times where they come up and it really carries the song forwards. The guitar part was played by Wah Wah Watson, who, as the namesake suggests, was known for his use of the wah pedal, as you can hear here. So essentially, his playing was innovative on the wah because of his ability not only to play that rhythmic style of wah, which you just heard, so basically that's just on the tonic, our B flat, and then he's accenting the chord at the end of his phrase. But he was also known for his ability to create textures, which later in the song come and go as the vocals start to get out of the way. He's not so busy in his part, and he plays this kind of thing. So it's more of that atmospheric chord, and he would use a bit of delay on that too, probably from an echoplex as well. So he was known for blending in delay with wah as well. Whereas before that, wah was commonly used in just that funk context with the rhythm. And I think that this part is great because it stays out of the way harmonically of the vocals and everything else. It just outlines the chord nicely, and it provides a little bit of extra rhythmic drive in the spaces where the bass isn't playing. So apart from the wah part, there's a second guitar part. And what's interesting production-wise is the wah's panned to the left and the other part is panned to the right. Now, this part here is, as you just heard, more of this sort of lead parts. And they tend to only really happen when the wah part isn't super busy. So, for example, when the vocals are happening, they happen as little responses to the vocals. So the vocal will sing its part, you know, it was the 3rd of September, that day I'll always remember, yes I will. And the guitar will go something like, and that was the day that my daddy died. And the guitar will do. So it's doing little response phrases to those vocal passages because there is a little bit of room for them. And it just adds a little bit of extra texture because in those sections, all the other instruments pull back a bit, so it has the room to do so. As far as the guitar gear on the session is concerned, information of that kind is a little hard to find. However, in many photos of Wah Wah Watson, we see he favoured a Gibson L5, which is more of an old-fashioned style jazz guitar, a hollow body. And in terms of amps, probably some kind of a Fender amp with spring reverb. So could be a twin reverb, could be a deluxe reverb, maybe a Vibrolux, something like that. And as far as the wah pedal's concerned, probably was playing some sort of a Vox, maybe a Crybaby, but it would definitely have been something from the Thomas Organ Company making Vox wahs at the time. Now in regards to other parts, there's a string section playing some tremolo passages. And as you can hear, it's almost this haunting tension that it creates. It's a stain. So we'll hear the strings alone. It sort of adds to it overall tension of the whole piece. So obviously that isn't the actual strings from the recording. That's some MIDI strings that I've programmed. However, of course, with some real players, that would sound a lot better. But that's the kind of idea of the string part. It's these sort of long tremolo phrases that create this beautiful haunting tension throughout the piece, almost creating a weird feeling of sorrow or sadness. So what we're listening to now is the trumpet part as played by Maurice Davis. This isn't his part, but this is a MIDI version of that I've played in with my keyboard. So basically that part there sticks to playing little melodies within the B-flat minor pentatonic scale, except for one point in which it plays the note E. And it's in a phrase that goes like this. So that E turns that into the B-flat minor blues scale. And essentially, that is just an additional note to add a bit of color to the sound. Now this part with these little melodies continues throughout the entirety of the song, coming in and out as most of the instruments do as part of the arrangement. It was the 3rd of September. That day I'll always remember. Yes, I will. 'Cause that was the day that my daddy died. I never got a chance to see him. Never heard nothing but bad things about him. Mama, I'm depending on you to tell me the truth. Mama just hung her head and said, oh. And Papa was a rolling stone, my son, yeah. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. And when he died, all he left us was alone. So there's just one verse and chorus of that super smooth, soulful vocal by the Temptations. Now, in the song, the vocal duties are shared by the 4 members, and they are Dennis Edwards, Melvin Franklin, Richard Street, and Damon Harris. The song centers around a group of siblings questioning their mother about their now dead father, and if all the things they hear from people are true about him being a cheat, a swindler, so on and so forth. And she responds with that age-old, timeless chorus. Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. When he died, all he left us was alone. So that's a super strong message, and I know that many Motown songs from this era did have strong messages. Take, for example, What's Going On by Marvin Gaye as another great reference. From what I could read online, it seems this song was this close to never happening. See, the Temptations wanted to record another song like they had in the past, love ballads that had been massive hits for them, and they thought this song took away from their vocal time with all these long instrumental sections. Norman Whitfield, the producer, stuck to his guns and eventually got them to record it. I'm sure the Temptations were grateful, as it was a massive hit, going to number 1 on the American pop charts, number 5 on the American R&B charts. So that was Papa Was a Rolling Stone. Now I'm sure we can all agree that I've only scratched the surface of this epic 12-minute arrangement. And I'm sure the video is long enough. If I had to cover every detail, we'd be here for quite a while. So please let me know if you'd like to see any specific Motown songs broken down in the coming episodes, and I'll do my best to get to them. So feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment, and I'll see you in the next Motown Monday.